All right. Hello, everybody. It's Sebastian from Enzyme at Work. Another week, another great guest. Quick words about what we do at Enzyme. Our goal is to share knowledge and best practices around climate tech, collaboration, science, accelerating innovation in the climate tech to mitigate global warming. Today, I have Cleo with me. She will introduce herself. And the topic of this week is collaborative partnership for strengthening natural conservation. So, without further ado, Cleo, can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Sebastian. It's a pleasure to be here today. And I want to start with a little question. I bet you all, including you, Sebastian, would you have guessed that you are where you are today 5 years ago? I don't think so. I myself, I could not have imagined being here today where I am. And like all my life, I've been a super curious person. And as a kid, I try to listen to trees talk. I've been amazed by like stone skipping over the water. And I always used to save bugs from the streets. And like over the years, I've developed a really deep advocacy for nature. And yeah, as you introduced me, I'm Cleo Stratmann. I'm from Germany, but I'm also a bit of a globetrotter. So I've been living in France, in the Netherlands, in Norway. And I'm passion driven, I'm optimistic, energetic, not perfect, but I keep going. And I want to tell everyone that keep following your path and trust your intuition. I think that's what we all have to do, need to do. And if you listen to this podcast to the end and you think our path should cross, please reach out to me. I would be very happy. Okay, a bit about my career path. I hope it's interesting for some of you. So I studied environmental science and technology at the Berlin Technical Institute. And for the past 8 years since then, I work in collaborative projects with a lot of curiosity for innovation as an environmental engineer and researcher. And later on, I want to give you a few tips about collaboration for nature conservation. So stay tuned. And yeah, my research career started with working on anthropogenic impacts on freshwater systems. And my first longer work position was at a field station at Lake Stechlin in north of Germany. And it's a huge, beautiful lake. And there's this in-lake mesocosm facility. So it kind of simulates a lake in a lake where you can do experiments. You should check it out. We can link this later on. And there we had so many collaborative projects, sometimes with up to 100 researchers over a whole summer period. And this sparked my passion for this kind of work. I could see how effective and how efficient and how comprehensive you can do research with these inter and cross-disciplinary collaborations. And yeah, then later I transferred to the Netherlands where I worked a bit on extreme weather events and the effects on freshwaters. And after this position, I was actually rethinking my path a little bit. I wanted to become an entrepreneur, fighting environmental destruction and especially plastic pollution. And I really wanted to bridge research to the application because I'm super hands-on and I want to do things in the real world, you know. And already in 2012, I got hooked on plastic pollution and I had a very intense personal experience that is still stuck in my head. When I close my eyes, I can see it in front of me. I was surfing in Barcelona. I took lessons, and depending on the tides and the wind, the bay there was literally a plastic soup. And we all have these moments in our life that, they stick to us. And I decided that to let this guide me. So after several months in 2019 of diving a bit into the startup world and taking some courses on businesses and strategic planning, I decided to go for a PhD position on plastics and water to really get the best possible competencies and um, the network for the entrepreneurial journey. And this led me then to France, where I had a PhD. And of course, who guessed it was an interdisciplinary collaborative project, and I worked on microplastics in the Seine River in Paris and the urban contribution and the sources on it. And Yeah, today I'm here. I'm self-employed as an environmental consultant with SEEO, and SEO stands for Scientific Environmental Engineering and Outreach. So this is what I do. And I offer research engineering services to protect our nature. And I focus on water and plastic pollution. But I'm not limited to that. So also reach out everyone who wants to work with me.
Thank you very much. Thank you much for this very good introduction. First of all, congratulations. I mean, moving from scientist to entrepreneur is not a natural move for a lot of us. So congratulations for that. A very interesting bio. Just a little bit of wording. So you use anthropology at one point in time in your presentation. I think it was the beginning. Just a little bit of definition about what was the meaning of anthropology in this context. I think maybe just from my personal learning.
So sure, Sebastian. Anthropogenic impacts means basically the impacts from humans and our activities on the natural systems.
Anthropogenic. Okay.
You know, we live in the Anthropocene, so this means this human-made world.
Anthropogenic.
Right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this. So back to the title of this week. So collaborative partnership for strengthening nature conservation. So can you explain maybe what's cooking and why this title? Cleo?
Yeah, of course. I want to start this with a question. Do you sometimes feel helpless in the face of all the environmental crisis and what's going on in the world?
Yeah.
I do, honestly, and I know a lot of my fellows and peers, they do too. And you know, we are facing this triple environmental crisis: the natural and habitat loss, biodiversity, environmental pollution, and climate change. And on top of that, we have a really tense political and social situation. So people feel helpless. And then on top of that, it turns out that plastic is super innovative since the 1950s, used material. We're surrounded everywhere, is also toxic to us and pollutes the environment, right? I mean, this is devastating. And the new studies present some evidence that plastic particles are related to blood clogging or cancer in our bodies. And we have already since many decades know that plastic harms the nature and the environment. Animals are getting entangled, they ingesting it, they eating it, they can starve, they have problems with their reproduction. And actually this week there's a global plastics treaty. Some of you may know it. I can follow up later if some of you have questions for that. And we need this. We need a global binding instruments, you know. And I hope it's gonna be ambitious, because plastic, which is a little bit cooking in my space, you know, there are over 16,000 chemicals that we use in plastic production, but only 6% of that are regulated. And a lot of these chemicals are risk to humans and nature. They can be persistent, toxic, they accumulate. Some of the well-known are PFAS, these pair and polyfluoroalkyl substances, so they are often water repellents. And some of you doesn't know the definition, like a plastic. When we say it very simply, it's a synthetic polymer, which is usually made by fossil fuels, mixed together with some additives. And together it's processed and polymerized, we say, and that leads to plastics, and then we make some products out of that. And you know, also plastic production is fossil fuel based, which means it also contributes to climate change, not only to environmental pollution. And yeah, the most common, we all know where plastic is used, right? In packaging, building, construction, automotive, electronics, etc. But even in our hygienic products and shampoos and so on. And like right now, we produce over 400 million tons of plastic every year. And this is accumulating, you know. The pollution has reached every inch of this world, from Antarctica to Himalaya. Studies have found microplastics, and 30 million tons go in the environment every year, estimated. Maybe it's more. And this is a threat to our nature and our waters, our food, you know, and it also contributes to social injustice. So, and you know, we have been talking about innovation, about business, being an entrepreneur. Money is a part of that. And the combined economic cost, for example, of plastic pollution for fishing, for tourism, and shipping is like 13 billion annually. The actual cost of the whole pollution. So we need to cut production, we need to reduce, we need to change, okay? And I want to contribute to this solution. So when we talk about cooking, I want to give some ingredients, to the solution. And that is for my part, environmental monitoring, linking research to applications. So that means data analysis, data collection. I love field work, clean tech, remediation and prevention, and protecting our nature in the end. And, our coming generations and us, we have really complex environmental and societal problems to solve. And there's a second thing that's cooking in my space, very important. And the question for that would be, have you ever solved a problem really alone? Maybe, yeah, you think, yeah, sure, I've done this. But actually, I'm sure you've used a tool for that or a method. And that was invented by someone else, right? So you didn't really solve it alone, did you? And that's a very important point in my work, is working together in collaborative efforts. I think it's the key. But you need to also do it effectively. Yeah, if your car is broken and you're just repairing the tire, but your motor that lays next to it broken into pieces, you need to look at both of those things. And here comes in another approach I really like, is systemic thinking or systems thinking. And it's basically a methodology that lets you really systematically also analyze different scenarios in a situation, in a system. And that brings you to making a well-informed decision that is also sustainable. And to do that, you need data, you need system boundaries, you need to know your system, you need key questions, direction and values, what to look at, but also you need the assumption of relying on the effort of others, so collaborative efforts again. And yeah, myself, I'm engaged also in several initiatives and networks that are collaborative and where I love to do some system thinking in. One of it is Unlock Inno together that you develop, Sebastien, where we link research and innovation for the global south and north. And I'm also part of a plastic footprint network that develops an assessment methodology for plastic impacts. But also I've been co-developer of the Plastiverse. It's a hub for researchers to find resources, exchange. And one other very important collaboration right now, it's a business partnership with Anna Kenning from Atrium Environmental in Kiel. And she comes from the maritime sector, and I come from the freshwater sector. So we complement, and we have some great projects on the line together.
Wow, impressive. If I may, because I mean, obviously you're on the topic. What do you see? I mean, you and the business partner you just mentioned as kind of, the clean tech. You think they are pretty good, or they are going to have the impact they are talking about? Do you see any kind of tech that you're like, wow, that's interesting, that you can share with us?
So when it comes to microplastic in rivers or plastic in rivers, there we all know this very famous floating plastic barriers in rivers, right? And the plastic and the trash comes down with the stream, it accumulates, and it can be taken out of the river. And a lot of tons of plastic are cleaned with that technology, for example.
Okay.
But small plastics, for example, they still go under the radar often, and also plastic can be in the whole water column. So there's there are other technologies, for example, one in the Netherlands, the bubble barrier, where they have kind of a curtain of oxygen bubbles that they get the plastic also from the water column up. So I really like the development that we have, for example, there. But we also need to focus on upstream solutions. So that's a very important point. But clean tech is a really big part of cleaning up what's already in the environment, cleaning up what will come still in the environment. So we still have to look at that.
Okay, cool. Very good. Thank you very much, Cleo. So, the question that I like to ask always to my guests is, because I mean, you've mentioned it. I mean, there's a lot of changing world. It's a lot of things are happening. What do you see of space? I mean, in 5 years from now, do you have some kind of, when you look at your crystal ball, what do you see?
Yeah, actually links to my initial my intro. I couldn't have imagined myself where I am now 5 years ago, so I will not be able to really say where I will be. But I have two principles when it comes to my future, and one is that I don't want to. I want to make decisions without regrets in the moment. So when I decide something today, I base it on whether it feels good today in my situation. And this way I can't really regret anything because I decided right now that it's good. And the second one is that dreaming really big and vision and imagine yourself as a successful person in the situation where you want to be. That's what I do and what I practice. And I want to be a kind person surrounded by people, by friends, by family. And I want to have huge environmental achievements actually. So with SEO, with my now self-employment and all the collaborations and partners with Atrium, I really want to get things going for environmental conservation and collaborative efforts. And yeah, projects like Unlockino, Plasterers, I see them in my future for sure. So this is the way to go together. And yeah, in 5 years, I hope maybe some people are reaching out after listening to that. And in 5 years, maybe there will be a great project that we have successfully completed together. And I definitely, one thing I'm sure about in 5 years, I will still be a nature advocate, and I will still try to reduce plastic in my life, and I will still save bugs from the street,
No, very good, very good. Thank you much, Cleo, for that. Just because we have a bit more time before the end. In terms of tech, so you've been mentioning this tech that is capturing, microplastic, capturing the plastic that has the surface, the one that are with the bubbles. Do you see this kind of tech becoming big and kind of all over the place, or I'm talking set to reduce what is already out there, or do you see completely new tech coming up in 5 years from now? What do you think?
Thank you, Sebastian. It's a really interesting question, and I think not an easy to simply answer.
Yeah.
Because my experience from working with microplastic in the environment, it's really complicated because microplastic and plastic, they can be in all different kinds of forms, all different kinds of polymers. They have different characteristics, so they behave differently in the environment. And then we also have different environments. So we have rivers, lakes, the ocean bottom, the soil, the air, etc. And so each different plastic behaves differently in each of these different environments. So we need a suite of solutions and clean technologies to do that. And I see that. I think we will have more of these installations where they are effective, definitely. So I think this will scale up a little bit more in the future for sure.
All right. Thank you very much, Cleo, for that, for your input. Just as a closing, so I just wanted to thank again the people that are going to listen to us today. Thank you, Cleo, for your time. Thank you for your openness to share. I think I'm a huge advocate of knowledge transfer. If we really want to accelerate things, we need to have this kind of access to information, especially to experts like you that knows what they are talking about. That's very important. Like you said, Cleo, if anyone wants to have more information about what Cleo is doing, if there's a business opportunity, project opportunity, just or more about microplastic, because there's a lot of things that are being said out there that I'm always the one that say, okay, if you really want to know, you need to talk to the scientist. That's the source. I mean, that's if you really want to know about it, or you read a paper. So thank you again for that. We'll see each other in another week for on enzyme. So I would like to wish you a very good day, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you everyone for listening, and just reach out to me. Thank you so much.